Hi there, Elevated Planet community. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and today I am back again, thankfully, with Mr. Chris Styles of 365 Pin Code.
What I will share with you and your Elevated Planet community will shed some really interesting light, especially on timelines. There is so much anxiety in the system at the moment. Is there a war? Isn't there a war? What is happening? Putin, the Ukraine, this, that, tanks coming from America, tanks going to the Ukraine through Poland. What is happening? When is it going to start? How long is this going to last? And the very interesting thing for me tonight is, having done in-depth analytics on the intelligent mathematical blueprints of a lot of the major players. So here we're talking the political leaders of the countries. I believe I have timelines of intelligence now that I can share with you, which will really start to give people a real insight as to where we are going when the real change happens, John. One of the things, John, that I hope is that the work that you and Elevated Planet are doing, the interviews that you're doing with subject matter experts like myself, is starting to get people to think critically about the fact that we actually know nothing. We are blind. We have been misled. We have been kept dumb for so long. But John, no doubt in my mind whatsoever that 2020 was orchestrated.
Yes.
Absolutely orchestrated. Because why does the chaos start then? And then according to the intelligent blueprints of all the people that are, why does it end in 2029? That is not random.
Yeah.
So on the back of this, what really is going on behind the scenes, John? And more importantly, John, who is designing or controlling these intelligent mathematical blueprints? So when Christopher Vaughan Styles, born on the 1st of February 1969, was put together, who put that intelligent mathematical blueprint together? When you were born, who put that intelligent mathematical blueprint together? When George Soros was born, Bill Gates, etc., etc. John, when you actually allow your mind to go in terms of the precision, and look, John, the work I'm doing now is just scratching the surface. Can you imagine when research like this is well funded with teams of brilliant minds working on it? Can you imagine the advancements that are going to happen around intelligent mathematical blueprint analytics?
Yeah.
Imagine what you can kind of do with this. I mean, let's take, for example, because people often say, okay, so you do the stuff with numbers. Wow. And it's like, no. Don't be flippant. Don't be flippant. Start thinking. Imagine being able to take this intelligence, where I know the numbers are laser accurate, and now you start to apply this modeling intelligence to data sets of 100,000 people. Let's say you're able to extract the intelligence of 100,000 people who had Alzheimer's, and you know exactly when the Alzheimer's was diagnosed. And you can run all this modeling, and you can start to see whether there is maybe some line of mathematical code that is very prevalent in all of their sequences around the time of Alzheimer's. Now you're starting to develop intelligence that would allow you to begin to look forward. And suddenly you're dealing with real intelligence. That's why, John, this is just scratching the surface. When you start to think about how enormous the understanding of the human intelligent blueprint through the discipline of futurology, human futurology, not futurists and technology, this tech, what's going to happen, who's going to lose jobs, actually understanding the magnificence of an individual, and then extrapolating that, and then having teams of statisticians that start to analyze the data, and you start to realize, oh my goodness me, when there's this mathematical code prevalent in a person's life, there is a very high probability that we might be looking at Alzheimer's. I mean, imagine if you can start to look into the future of people on an individual level, but with intelligence.
Yes. Yes.
Now, John, now you are reinventing the world. Now you are changing the world. Now you're shifting the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing good.
Yes.
But it's like everything, John, we have a choice. A knife. A knife can be used to cut the food on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
A knife can be used to cut a piece of string.
Mm-hmm.
A knife can be used to murder somebody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a tool. Therefore, one of the things that I'm 100% convinced of is that the mathematical blueprint that we are born with is a tool.
Yes.
And you're either going to use that tool for good, or you could use it for bad.
Yes.
I think a lot of us vacillate between good and bad all the time. Good moments, bad moments, etc., etc. The real scary thing is when your intelligent mathematical blueprint goes dark. And by that, I mean pitch black.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to say anymore.
Yeah. Yes. And I agree with what you're saying. And I think there's a degree of logic that also sits with a different other things that I've looked at, which is, again, it's all about life planning. Before you are born into this world, right? You know what you want to achieve, because if you've been here on this planet before several times through incarnations and you built up karmic debt, you know what areas you want to work on. Now, over there on the other side, there is a level of intelligence that humanity can barely conceive of, that puts together these numbers into your motherboard, which is here, right? And you have a connection at a spiritual level that you can reach out to and connect to, because that increases your wisdom, because that is a bigger part of you over there as well. But it's still part of you, but it just doesn't sit within the meat suit, right? This bit here, the motherboard, has this coding. And this is coding that has been created through your life planning, which was effectively you deciding what you wanted to have happen in your life. So to me, it all kind of fits the mathematical.
Well, John, the astonishing thing about what you're just saying now talks to simulation.
Yes, it does.
Are we living in a simulation?
Seems
I absolutely believe we are. The moment you begin to unpack the magnificence, and I'm just doing it at basic level, John, of a person's intelligent mathematical blueprint, you realize that you have to be living a simulation, which, now I believe what we're starting to do is we're starting to produce evidence of the simulation, which then talks to the work that is being done by the likes of Professor Nicholas Bostrom at Oxford, with his book Superintelligence, where these guys are saying and have been alluding to the fact that we are living in a simulation. But the thing is, prove it. Prove that we're living in a simulation. Well, John, I am so bold as to say that I believe that this modeling that I'm doing, which is proving to be incredibly accurate.
Yes.
I just looked at Jacinda Ardern's numbers today. It is no coincidence that she's just called it a day. She's telling the world that she hasn't got enough gas in the tank. When you look at her intelligent mathematical blueprint, it's there, clear as a bell, game over.
Yeah.
Right? Boris Johnson, when you run his critical numbers, they came forward en masse and in concentrated format in 2019. What happened in 2019? He became Prime Minister of the UK. The same with Justin Trudeau. The year that he became Prime Minister, exactly the same thing as Boris Johnson, a critically important sequence of numbers presenting in his blueprint in concentrated format. John, this is happening over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Therefore, what I'm discovering is not random.
No.
Therefore, I contend that we are absolutely living in a simulation. which now starts to ask the question, what is right and what is wrong?
Yes. Yes.
And I think it is this type of stuff that is going to truly start to shift the consciousness of humanity.
I agree. I think as well, the other thing that really strikes me quite strongly is that once you start to get to grips with this, mentally get to grips with this, one thing it will help to alleviate is fear. Because you realize we are living in a simulation. This is a life experience. This is what we're here for. We're here to be tested. We're here on Earth School to learn and to grow. Now, some people will grow in one direction, other people will grow in the other, right? Some people go towards the light.
But John, and I'm going to interject there, maybe they don't want people to know that we are living in a simulation.
Right. Yes.
Maybe they already know this.
Yes.
But it doesn't serve them for us to know this, because by keeping us ignorant, they are able to control us.
I agree, 100%.
Now, the thing is, who is the they? Who are the ones that have the knowledge and are hell-bent on that knowledge not getting out? Who are they? Where are they? What are they?
What are they? That's a very good question. Again, if you go back to the Nostradamus thing, he talks a lot about the cabal and the influence that they have from that unseen position, pulling strings and keeping power and dumbing down. Now, I know this takes us in a slightly different direction, but there's this galactic influence stuff that's out there as well, right? Now, we're talking about humanity and the future of humanity, but one of the things that's also very clear to me is that they, if you like, as we would regard them as extraterrestrials or galactic beings, are amongst us. And many of them are benevolent. They're here to shine the light. But there are others who are the more controlling aspects, who are really looking for exactly that: control, power, wealth, at the expense of keeping humanity dumbed down. Now, I know this is getting a little bit fantastical here, but 5 years of careful study on this. I mean, one of the things I would say about you, Chris, is that, you know, the autistic scale side of things, the Asperger's, it makes you into a very special person. Very few people, I believe, would be able to have the level of focus you do to have achieved what you've achieved. I don't think it would be possible if you didn't have that condition. And the fact is, you're a fantastic functioning person as well. So, you know, it's kind of like a gift to humanity to have people like you who can help to break down these barriers and build understanding. But when I kind of look at this as well and think, okay, there is something that's been going on behind the scenes, and where it beggars belief is the fact that this has gone on for generations upon generations, hundreds of years, thousands of years. Distortion and deliberate distortion in order to keep humanity small, serving the few at the expense of the many. And this is where I believe, this is where we're all heading towards, is shining a light and moving things forward, moving up across dimensions, if you like. And I know this is kind of getting very fantastical now, but it's about this Earth split, 3D to 5D.
John, look, you know, I'm actually really glad that you said that, because as a curious individual, one has to entertain the notions of what if. The thing that I busy myself with, John, and yes, you are right in terms of laser focus. I mean, I spend literally all day, every day, interrogating numbers, data sets, patterns, etc., sequences, in order to try and unlock the next level intelligence, the next. But what I am trying to do, John, and I know that I am succeeding at this, is through research that can be duplicated over and over and over and over and over again. Therefore, it is science. deliver results that start to get people thinking very, very, very differently about life.
Mm-hmm.
And on the back of those results, because the thing is, people are always looking for proof. Show me, prove it to me, show me, prove it to me. And this is what this is what I am doing, John, step by step, step by step, step by step. You know, this is a journey that has been basically at full steam since 2015. This is not just something that has happened overnight. That's why when I say to you, the stuff that I'm bringing to the fore now, sharing with you, the documented research stuff on my Twitter feed, this is years and years and years and years of dedicated work. And we're talking hours and hours and hours every single day, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. So the thing is, John, you know, when you talk about alternative life forms, I guess what I am hoping is that the work that I am doing may start to move into that kind of dimension, but with intelligence, as opposed to they are among us, but we can't see them. So therefore, everybody says, no, 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 they're not. So, you know, and on the back of that, you labeled a nut job.
Yes.
And it's very easy to be labeled a nut job. So, you know, look, I have most certainly got my own thoughts, my own views, but I am absolutely obsessed with trying to use solid research and intelligence to be able to shift people's minds so that their minds start to open to the fact that what is this life of mine?
Mm.
You know, shock horror, I have intelligent mathematical blueprint. Double shock horror, I am walking a grand organized design. Triple shock horror, life is happening to me and through me. Quadruple shock horror, what now?
Mm.
Who is this? What is this? How is this working? You see how you create the quantum shifts?
Yes.
And unfortunately, this is why people in the world of metaphysics, you know, mediums, etc., 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 the moment they go woo-woo on people, they just chase them away.
Yeah.
Because 99.9% of people out there are looking for proof, looking for evidence, before they will even step onto the first rung of alternate consciousness.
Yeah.
And I believe the work that I'm doing and the work that we are doing as a collective is helping to get them onto that first rung.
Yes.
That in itself, John, is a quantum leap forward.
Yes. And you know, I do think there's a lot more people opening their minds to this now. There is a realization starting to sink in. And as you say, evidence is important. And I think that we are starting to see yet more and more of it. And people will, you know, we are here to shine a light on certain aspects that help people to wake up, to step out of the density of the fear and stress. And I mean, and I don't, you know, I think there's a reluctance from many people, and I understand this, to let go of a version of reality that they've known since birth. I mean, you know, you're going to need some convincing that you've been misled for decades upon decades, but you know, that your programming, if you want to call it that, and your conditioning has been misaligned deliberately to keep you so much smaller than you really are. Now, you know, it's going to be interesting, but, you know, people have to be prepared to take that first step to explore it. And I think that once you start to dig under the surface, it's amazing how much evidence there is.
Also, John, a lot is going to come out in the years going forward.
Yes.
And if world leaders and billionaires and governments have been busy with very sinister stuff, which has been sold to us as a pack of lies, the truth is going to come out. The thing is, people need to get their heads around it's not going to come out tomorrow.
Yes.
It's going to start emerging from 2027 onwards. And to this end, John, and the way I'm going to wrap up is to refer to the man of the moment, Volodymyr Zelensky.
Mm.
and I'm going to talk to his numbers from a purely neutral perspective, right?
Yep.
There are a lot of people out there that see him as a puppet, and there are a lot of people out there that see him as a hero. I'm coming at straight down the line in the numbers. And Volodymyr Zelensky, the two numbers that are critically important in his PIN code is 3 and 6. Right. Russia invaded the Ukraine in 2022. That's a number 6 year. That's synchronized with Zelensky's life path, which is a 6. It doesn't get more extreme than that. Now, then he has a shadow life path number, which is an emotional number, which is the number 3. Now, how incredible is it, John, that the number 3, which is the emotional number for him, defines his life from 2021 through to 2023. That's the period. Then the number 6 defines his life from 2024 to 2027. Remember I said 2027 is going to be this year of enlightenment, where nobody's going to be able to creep away in the shadows anymore. But then, John, if I look at these numbers, and I'm looking at it purely from an academic perspective in terms of what I've seen around numbers and number pairs and number combinations, good numbers versus antagonistic combinations, etc., etc. What I am seeing in Zelensky's numbers is I'm seeing a very, very, very rough set of numbers presenting in his life from 2028 through to and including 2030. With 2029 and 2030 in his world being driven by exactly the same numbers that define the world of George Soros or Georgie Schwartz, 16-7. This is why I say people actually need to stop. They need to stop getting their knickers in a knot. Because let me tell you right now, John, the truth is coming. The truth will emerge. And heroes will be celebrated. Villains will be exposed.
Yes.
Nobody will be able to hide. And that moment of revelation, John, begins in 2026 through to 2029, with 2030 being that's it, all revealed. And there you have it, John. And that's it.
Wow. They are going to be exciting times ahead. Now, I use the word exciting, but of course, there's a lot of drama to play out, which is not going to be regarded as pleasant by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that, you make an exceptionally good point that, if this is a mathematical blueprint for all, and everybody has their piece of this 8 billion piece jigsaw, and everybody is playing out their role. And yes, there is a degree of free will there because there's a life path set, but you can go dark, you can go light, right? You still have a choice. It's not like you're just reading from a script and working your way from birth to death. No, totally, there is choice. But nevertheless, this is a time that is playing out now, which has been foretold back in biblical times. Good old Nostradamus back in the 1530s and 40s in particular, he was very evident about what was going to happen at this time. And, I think this is a necessary change. And I do believe at the end of it, I agree with you. I think by that point, people will be so much more aware of their consciousness. They have conscious awareness and the power that each individual has. Because the reality is that when we think about this world that we live in at the moment, where you have your people on high, you have hierarchies all over the place. You've got the people who are regarded right down here. You got the people up at the top. Everybody has an equal value. Absolutely every soul on this planet has a unique identity and a unique role to play. Every single one of them carries the same value as everybody else. Now, that's not the world we're living in at this point. It's been dumbed down to the degree that most of us believe we're right down here. And then there's these people up here.
Well, also, I believe that we are in the darkest of times.
Mm.
And I believe that the darkest of times have been fueled by greed.
Yes.
Because the moment you become greedy, there are no boundaries. Greed is not good. Greed corrupts. It prevents goodness from flowing. Greed inhibits abundance.
Yes.
And going forward, those who have become obsessed with greed and power and control and manipulation will be exposed.
Mm.
And the shock and the horror that goes with their exposure will serve to be the blast that shocks humanity out of this greed, materialism, back into a far more balanced state.
Yes.
People who have been idolized will be exposed, because there is absolutely going to be exposure going forward. And there's going to be such shock and such horror and such outpouring of grief. And, one can even take it a step further, gnashing of teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to happen, John.
Mm.
And then people are going to realize, oh my word, look at the values that I held dear. The values that I held dear originated from these people. I idolized these people. I saw them as, the bastions of X, Y, and Z, and I modeled my life on them, etc., etc. Yet look at what they actually were. Mm-hmm. This is what is needed, John. It is the only through absolute complete exposure and shock and horror and consternation will people have this recalibration process.
Mm.
A lot of people say it's going to be through nature, it's going to be through this, it's going to be through that. I disagree. I absolutely believe that we are not doing fantastic things to the planet at the moment. But the real shock in humanity comes through exposing something that they can absolutely relate to.
Right. Yes.
That's money, power, life, greed, etc., etc., etc. That is the type of thing that I believe is the cataclysmic shift.
Mm.
Not just earthquakes or this or that or whatever. It's when it's really, really personal. And it doesn't get more personal than humans through humans.
Mm.
And John, that's my parting comment on the evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. It's, enlightening. It's amazing to think about what we're about to step into. Well, what we're already stepping into, and we have been for a couple of years, but, clearly we're talking about an escalation here, which is going to change life for everybody on the planet. That's what we're talking about. So it's great to be able to get the message out there because, again, forewarned is forearmed. And at least if mentally you're getting your head around the fact that we're going to be facing some very dark times, then when it occurs, you're ready for it. You're mentally prepared. So I truly appreciate it, Chris. I'm a big admirer of your work, always will be, because, you just prove time and again that this stuff is real. And
thank you.
I really appreciate what you're doing for not just for Elevated Planet and for our community, but for humanity, because I think that's where it's heading. Yeah. So thank you very much, Chris. Much appreciated. And thank you very much to our Elevated Planet community for tuning in. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions. You can reach me through the elevatedplanet.life website, and you can pose any questions that you care to ask there. And certainly if there's any questions for Chris also, although, Chris, you've got the 365pincode.com website, correct? That people can contact you on.
So the stuff that I'm sharing with you now, the fact that, I have the ability to now drill down from years into quarters, and I'm working it even further and further and further. This is the type of intelligence that is going to change the game. And it's all there. It's on 365 pin code if they want to go and have a look.
Fantastic. Okay, Chris. Once again, thank you very much. And again, thank you to the community. And we look forward to being back to you soon with yet more information. And as I say, if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Till then, I'll say farewell. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, community.